Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really zeroing in on the core ideas of financial literacy and wealth building.
Yeah, we're pulling from Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lecter's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, some really key excerpts.
Exactly. And our mission really is to pull out those actionable insights, those fundamental shifts in how you think about money.
The things that can, empower you to grab control of your financial future, maybe move beyond the usual advice you hear.
Right. We want to unpack the key lessons, maybe challenge some of those conventional wisdoms we all grew up with.
And it all starts with that amazing contrast Kiyosaki draws between his two dads, doesn't it?
It really does. You've got the poor dad, his actual father, highly educated, superintendent of education even.
But with very, traditional views on work and money. Go to school, get a safe job.
And then the rich dad, his friend Mike's father, businessman, totally different principles, often really counterintuitive stuff.
Which leads us straight into that central theme, the big one.
The rich don't work for money.
Money works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds simple, maybe.
Almost too simple. But we'll dig into why it's such a profound shift. So let's tackle that first lesson head on. The rich don't work for money.
Okay. And for Kiyosaki, it seems this whole drive, this desire to get rich, it started really young, right? From feeling, well, poor.
Yeah, he tells that story about being excluded, him and his friend Mike, from some beach house thing because they were the poor kids.
Ouch. That kind of thing sticks with you, doesn't it? It clearly lit a fire under him, made him ask why.
Totally. And it wasn't just curiosity. They jumped into action pretty fast, that first business venture.
Oh, yeah, collecting old toothpaste tubes, trying to melt them down for the lead to make fake nickels.
Sounds crazy now, but see that early entrepreneurial spark, right? That drive.
Absolutely. And even though the nickel plan, well, obviously didn't work,
Obviously.
the lesson he took away was huge. You're only poor if you quit. That's resilience right there.
It really is. Taking initiative, not giving up at the first hurdle.
Yep.
It's fundamental.
And that experience, that whole mindset, it directly leads to him making a massive choice at 9 years old.
Choosing who to learn about money from. Not his highly educated poor dad, but the entrepreneurial rich dad.
Which really hits home, doesn't it? That practical financial know-how can sometimes trump traditional academic smarts when it comes to actually building wealth. It's a different kind of smart.
So, the rich dad takes them under his wing, but his choose move is weird. He hires them but doesn't pay them.
Huh. Yeah, seems odd on the surface. But it was all part of the plan, wasn't it? A bit of tough love teaching.
Right, he wasn't trying to be cheap. He was forcing them not to think about just earning an hourly wage.
Exactly. The goal was to make them step back and ask, okay, how does money really work? To look for opportunities, not just a paycheck.
And you contrast that with the poor dad's advice, which is so familiar to many of us.
Oh, yeah. Work hard, get good grades, find a secure job, benefits, the whole package. Safety first.
Whereas the rich dad is saying, forget safety for a second. Learn how money can actually work for you so you don't spend your life chasing it.
It's a completely different philosophy. And it gets down to the emotions that drive us, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Fear and desire.
Mm.
The rich dad identified those as the two big traps.
It's that cycle, right? The fear of not having money pushes you to work, then you get paid, desire kicks in, you want nicer things maybe.
Yeah, you spend it. And then the fear comes back because the
Really?
money's gone. And round you go.
It's the treadmill. The promise of the paycheck offers security, but the fear keeps you running, keeps you needing that next check,
You had that great analogy, the donkey and the carrot.
right? The paycheck, the potential raise, the bonus.
Yeah.
It's always just dangling out there, keeping you moving forward, working hard.
But you're still fundamentally being led, not leading your own financial life.
Which explains why they turned down those pay raises he offered them. Remember that. 0, 1, 25 cents an hour, then $1, then $2.
Yeah. It wasn't about the money itself. Rejecting $2 an hour must have been tough for a kid.
For sure. But they'd started to grasp the bigger lesson. Even at $2, they were still just trading time for money.
They were changing the fundamental game. They weren't making money work for them. That was the real prize.
And that leads to this kind of sobering thought. Who are most employees really working for?
Well, first, the business owners, right? Generating profit for the company.
Then the government, obviously. Taxes come right off the top.
And then often the banks, mortgages, car loans, credit cards.
So before you even see a dime for yourself for your own wealth building, a lot of your effort has gone elsewhere.
It's a powerful point. Which brings us neatly to lesson 2. Why teach financial literacy?
Right. Because just having money isn't the answer, is it? Kiyosaki tells that story about someone who became incredibly wealthy but still struggled.
Yeah, it really drives home that point. More money doesn't solve money problems if you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly. You could win the lottery tomorrow, but without financial literacy, that money could just vanish.
So it's not just about earning it.
No, it's what you do with it after you make it. How do you keep it? How do you protect it? And crucially, how do you make it work hard for you?
The whole skill set.
Absolutely. Which ties directly into this idea of the rat race. Can you maybe break that down for anyone unfamiliar?
Sure. The rat race. It's that cycle we just talked about, really. You earn money, you pay your bills and expenses.
And often, as your income goes up, maybe you get a raise. Your expenses creep up too.
Right. New car, bigger house, nicer holidays.
So you're working harder, maybe earning more, but you're not actually getting ahead financially. You're just running faster on the same wheel.
And he uses that example of the young educated couple,
Right?
right? They start out maybe okay,
Yeah, maybe living simply, but then careers advance, income rises.
and bam. Suddenly they're buying the dream house, the nice cars, filling the house with stuff.
All the things that look like success, but they come with bigger mortgages, car payments, maybe credit card debt.
So even with higher income, their expenses eat it all up.
Mm-hmm.
They're trapped, still dependent on that next paycheck, still in the rat race.
Which sets up maybe the most fundamental concept in the whole book.
The difference between assets and liabilities. This is core.
Absolutely critical. And the definition is brutally simple.
An asset.
Puts money in your pocket.
And a liability.
Takes money out of your pocket, period. Forget traditional accounting sometimes. Just look at the cash flow. Which way is it going?
Okay, but this leads to a point that trips a lot of people up. His view on your primary home.
Ah, yes. The house. Most people think of it as their biggest asset.
But the rich dad? He calls it a liability for most people. Why?
Because of that cash flow rule. Does your house put money in your pocket each month? Usually, no.
No, you've got the mortgage, property taxes,
Right.
insurance, upkeep, repairs.
Yeah.
It constantly takes money out.
Exactly. So by his definition, it's a liability. He argues that pouring all your money into a big house can actually stop you from building real wealth.
Because that money is tied up, it's not working for you, it's not buying income-producing assets.
Right. He talks about the lost opportunity cost to the time, the capital, the experience you could have gained investing elsewhere.
It's not anti-home ownership, necessarily.
No, it's about understanding the financial reality of it, not just the emotional side, and seeing the
He
difference.
shows those diagrams, right? The cash flow patterns.
Yeah, the poor dad.
Yeah.
Income comes in, goes straight out to expenses, liabilities pile up. The rich,
Right.
income comes in, buys assets, assets generate more income. It's a virtuous cycle.
So you end up with these categories. The poor, basically just expenses.
Yeah.
The middle class, buying liabilities they think are assets.
Like the big house, the fancy car.
And the rich, focused on buying actual income-producing assets.
Which leads perfectly into lesson 3. Mind your own business.
Okay, so what does that mean? It's not about quitting your job tomorrow, is it?
Not necessarily. It's about shifting your focus. He uses that amazing story about Ray Kroc, this McDonald's guy.
Right. Kroc told those MBA students he wasn't really in the hamburger business.
He was in the real estate business. Mind-blowing, kinda.
Ah.
He knew the land under the Golden Arches was the real long-term asset.
Wow. So the franchisees were basically paying for his real estate portfolio while they flipped burgers.
Essentially, yeah. McDonald's is still one of the biggest real estate owners in the world. It hammers home that point. Owning the income-producing asset is key, not just running the operation.
And that's what the rich dad taught him. Focus on building your asset column. Your own business in that sense.
Exactly. Stop focusing only on getting a raise or promotion in someone else's business.
Your employer's business.
Right, and start building your own portfolio of things that make money for you, whether you show up to a job or not. Stocks, bonds, real estate, businesses.
Creating your own financial engine.
And this highlights the vulnerability of people who think their house is their main asset. What happens if they lose their job?
Suddenly that asset isn't producing income, it's just draining cash. Mortgage, taxes. It becomes a huge burden.
Same with the car. What they thought was security becomes a source of stress because there's no income engine feeding it other than the job they just lost.
They have nothing generating cash flow independently. Which brings us to how the wealthy do protect themselves and grow wealth. Lesson 4.
The history of taxes and the power of corporations. This gets interesting.
Okay, and he starts with a controversial take on Robin Hood.
Yeah, the rich dad apparently saw Robin Hood less as a hero, more as, well, problematic.
How so?
Mhm.
Taking from the rich to give to the poor sounds good.
On the surface, maybe. But his argument was the truly rich figure out ways around taxes anyway. They have the knowledge, the resources.
So who ends up carrying the biggest burden when taxes go up?
Often the middle class, the ones educated enough to earn a decent income, but maybe not financially savvy enough to structure things like the wealthy do.
And he links this to the history of income tax itself.
Right. It started as a tax on the rich, supposedly. But governments tend to like spending money.
And need more revenue.
So the tax net gradually widened to catch the middle class, too. He contrasts the mindset.
Hmm.
Government often needs to spend its budget,
To justify getting the same or more next year.
whereas a business aims for efficiency, surplus, profit. Very different drivers.
So how do the rich respond to taxes, according to this view?
They don't just accept it, they use financial intelligence. They use legal structures, specifically corporations.
Ah, the biggest secret of the rich, he calls it. What's the magic of a corporation?
It's mainly about the order of cash flow and taxes. As an individual, you typically earn money, then you pay tax on it, then you spend what's left.
Right. Taxman gets the first cut.
But a corporation, it earns money, then it spends money on legitimate business expenses.
Which can be a much wider category.
Exactly. And then it pays tax on whatever profit is left after expenses. It's a huge timing and structure advantage.
So things that might be personal expenses for you or me.
Could potentially be legitimate pre-tax business expenses if structured correctly through a corporation. Think travel, vehicles, maybe even some health costs.
It's about playing the game by different rules, legally.
It's about understanding the rules the wealthy use, which requires that financial intelligence we keep mentioning. And that leads to lesson 5.
The rich invent money. Okay, that sounds ambitious. What does he mean?
It's not about counterfeiting. It's about the idea that wealth isn't just found or earned in traditional ways. It can be created through financial intelligence again. But this time, coupling technical know-how with courage, creativity, seeing opportunities others miss.
And not being afraid to make mistakes along the way.
Crucial. The rich dad saw mistakes as learning opportunities. You try something, maybe it fails, you learn, you adjust, you try again. Fear of failure paralyzes too many people.
That's why he developed that cash flow board game, right?
Exactly. To simulate real financial life income, expenses, assets, liabilities, opportunities, setbacks, but in a safe space where mistakes don't cost real money.
It lets you practice seeing deals, understanding cash flow patterns.
Getting your head around how the balance sheet and income statement interact. It's a teaching tool.
And then he introduces this really abstract concept. Money is an illusion.
Yeah, kind of mind-bending. His point is that money, whether it's paper or digital, only has value because we all agree it does. It's based on confidence and belief.
So the most powerful asset isn't the money itself.
It's your mind, your ability to think, learn, see opportunities, and create value where maybe there wasn't obvious value before. That's how you invent money.
He gives examples, right? Structuring deals, finding solutions, often without needing huge amounts of upfront cash.
Yeah, using financial intelligence to bring resources together or solve someone else's problem in a way that creates profit. It's about the deal structure, the agreement.
It really contrasts that work hard mentality with a work smart or think differently approach.
Absolutely. Working hard is important, but just trading hours for dollars has a limit. Financial intelligence lets you leverage your time and resources exponentially.
Okay, so we've got these powerful lessons, but the book also talks about why people don't follow this path, the obstacles.
Right, because knowing isn't the same as doing. Fear is a big one we mentioned. Fear of losing money.
The rich dad says, winners aren't afraid of losing.
Or rather, they don't let the fear stop them. They manage the risk, learn from losses, and keep playing the game.
Then there's cynicism.
The Chicken Little syndrome. The sky is falling. Always seeing the downside, dismissing opportunities without really looking. That'll never work.
That negative filter. And laziness. But
Yeah.
not just couch potato lazy.
No, it's often disguised as being too busy with the day-to-day grind to actually step back and work on your financial life, not just in it.
Avoiding the important stuff by staying occupied with the urgent stuff.
Exactly. And the cure, he suggests. A little bit of greed in a positive sense, asking, what's in it for me? What's the reward for taking action? That can be motivating.
And bad habits.
Yeah.
Just ingrained ways of handling money or not handling it.
Yeah. Your life reflects your habits much more than your education level, often. Need to replace bad financial habits with good ones.
All of which points back to needing that foundation of it.
Financial education, it's the bedrock. It's what allows you to even see the opportunities. Like he says, there is gold everywhere. Most people are not trained to see it.
You need both ways of thinking, maybe. The analytical skills from the poor dad path.
And the creative, opportunity-seeking mindset from the rich dad path. Combine them.
And who you hang around with matters too.
Hugely. The power of association. If your friends only talk about sports or problems, it's different than if they talk about deals, investments, ideas. You learn by osmosis, almost.
Master the formulas, learn different ways to make money work. Pay yourself first.
That discipline. Put money into your asset column before you pay your bills, if possible. Forces you to be creative about covering expenses.
Use brokers wisely for information, access. Be an Indian giver, which sounds maybe awkward now, but the concept.
The concept is getting your investment back quickly, aiming for infinite return, getting something for essentially free plus added value, smart investing,
Use surplus cash to make more cash. Find heroes, role models.
and that principle of giving. If you want something, first you need to give. Whether it's time, knowledge, value, it often comes back multiplied.
So the book offers practical steps too. Stop doing what isn't working, find mentors, learn new strategies, take action, make offers.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make offers. You never know. Look for people who want to buy before you find people who want to sell. Think big.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad,
Mm-hmm.
what's the single biggest takeaway if you had to boil it down?
I think it's that financial intelligence, that shift in mindset is just absolutely crucial for building real wealth and freedom.
The old path, work hard, save a bit. It's often just not enough anymore, is it?
It's usually not enough for true financial independence. No, you have to understand how money really works.
And that starts with drilling down on that difference. Assets versus liabilities.
Yes, and relentlessly focusing on building that asset column, making sure you own things that put money in your pocket month after month.
And it's not a one-time fix. It's continuous learning,
Changed and adapt.
adapting.
Always. The economy changes, rules change, opportunities change. You have to stay curious, keep learning.
So the final thought for you, listening right now, think about this. Are you building pipelines? Assets that generate income automatically.
Or are you mostly just carrying buckets, trading your time, your energy directly for that paycheck day after day?
Which path, honestly, do you think leads to more freedom, more choices down the road?
It's worth really thinking about. How can you start applying some of these ideas, even small steps, to begin minding your own business?
This has just been a starting point, obviously. Keep exploring, keep learning. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.